Alright, well, I got a bunch of stuff in the mail today, so let's open it up, see what it is. Well, I know what it is. It's a bunch of live food cultures. So we're going to open these up, and then I'm going to show you how I set these up. Alright, so let's start off with the big one. I got these from all over. I got some of them from Aquabid, I got some of them from eBay, some of them from Josh's Frogs. And I think those are the only sites I ordered from. And from Rapashi. So this is, this is Super Green, which is an algae gel food. And this one is Super Fly, so this is for fruit fly cultures. I've never used it before. I've always used Rice Krispies to culture fruit flies in the past, and I'll show you what I mean by that. But I got this stuff to see how it worked. Maybe it works better. I don't know. Alright, so here's the haul. Didn't want to make you sit there and watch me struggle to open boxes. So what I've got is, I've got a couple things of microworms, a couple things of banana worms, vinegar eel starter. Then I also got two types of fruit flies. These are the big ones, and these are the small ones. But I did get something new, which are these. They're bean beetles, which I'm excited to try because they look super easy. All they eat is beans, dry beans. You put dry beans in a container, and there you go. So the bean beetles are an experiment. Hopefully they'll be okay. Hopefully the fish will like them. And we'll see. I don't know, but super easy to culture. I'm excited to try these. They're a lot plumper than flower beetles. They're chubby little guys. So let's start with the microworms and banana worms. And these, I culture in these dishes, which I have cut 4 holes in the top and put some super glued some coffee filter over each one, so they can breathe, but the worms can't get out, and most importantly, mites can't get in. I have had in the past had these tiny little white mites just completely take over my cultures. So anyway, the coffee filter's covering these to try to prevent any problems with those mites. So I do this quite differently than anyone else I know. Everyone else I know uses potato flakes or oatmeal, things like that. I use Rice Krispies. To me it smells less, it's easy to get the right consistency, and it's super simple. So what I'm going to do is just take these Rice Krispies, put a layer, I don't know, an inch, 3/4 of an inch maybe in the bottom of each of these. Then I'm going to get it damp to the point that that it won't hold more water, but water's not leaking out of it. And then I'll sprinkle some yeast on it and put my starter cultures in, and really that's it. It's that easy. So here we go. For a couple bucks, I don't know what this was, $4 of Rice Krispies, you can get a lot of worms going. Now this is also exactly how I've done my fruit flies in the past. A different container, a taller container with some Excelsior Easter grass in it, but the same medium. I've just used the Rice Krispies, and it works really well for fruit flies too. And when you get it the right consistency, it sticks in there pretty good, and it's not sloshy or anything like that. The consistency is just right for the worms and the fruit flies. Basically what this is just room temperature water. It's not dechlorinated or anything. I know that's probably going to freak some of you out, but it's never made a difference for me. I'm just going to put a little bit of that in there. You'll hear the Rice Krispies do their little crackling. Or I guess technically this is crispy rice because it's cheaper. So I'm going to just kind of stir it in. Nothing magical about it at all. Well, I guess Rice Krispies are magical, right? It's a cereal that makes noise. And when you first do this, you really don't want to make them super wet, because in a couple days they're going to get runnier as they break down. is the yeast and the worms and stuff break the Rice Krispies down. You don't want to start runny, you want to start wet. In a couple days, it'll get a lot runnier, like I said. And so what I do is I just go through and add more dry Rice Krispies to it, and that'll thicken it up. And I set up a lot of cultures. I almost always do. I want multiple cultures going. That way, if one culture crashes, then I've got plenty of others, but also I've got a ton of fish coming. And I generally have a lot of fish in my fish room. I'll culture a lot more food than I might need, just so that I always have plenty. And a lot of the fish I'm getting, I want to make sure I have live foods available. I'm getting a lot of really, really small killifish in, and it'll be really important for me to have small live foods. I'm sure they'll eat microworms, even as adults. And that's true of a lot of fish. A lot of adult fish will eat microworms just fine, just like a lot of adult fish eat baby brine shrimp. And so having a lot available is good for me, especially when I'm bringing in wild fish. Okay, well, where do I put a spoon that's all dirty? Right there. That's where I put a dirty spoon. So let me hopefully show you this. Let me switch the viewfinder here so I can see myself. All right, so there we are. So this is what we end up with. It's not runny or sloshy, it kind of sticks in there. If you can see that, it'll hold the form when I kind of poke a hole in it. And so that's the consistency I want. Again, in a couple days that'll turn pretty runny, and then I just add more dry to it and it'll crisp it right back up. But that's all it is. And then we'll take this yeast, which this is a little jar. I actually buy it by the pound and then store little bits in this jar for ease of use. I've got freezer. I have a bunch of this in my freezer. I take this and I'm going to sprinkle it in here. And I use a lot. Some people say only use a little bit. I use quite a bit. And the reason for that is yeast fights bacteria. If you have quite a bit of yeast in there, then it's much less likely that the culture will sour as quickly. So I don't know if you can see that, but there's a bunch of little balls of yeast all over that. I don't quite coat the top solid, but I know there's very little space between yeast granules. Because I want this to ferment, I don't want it to decompose. So I want yeast fermenting it, not bacteria decomposing it. And then it'll smell like bread rising instead of putridness, which if you've ever had one of these cultures go sour on you, you know what I'm talking about. Okay. So I'm going to do 4 microworm cultures and 4 banana worm cultures. I got 2 different kinds because of the different sizes. So banana worms are really short, super, super short. And so they'll be good for some fish, whereas the microworms are longer, but they're really skinny. So long and skinny versus short and a little plumper. So depending on the fish I'm feeding and the size of their mouth will depend on the kind of worm I give them. And I'm talking about fry, when I'm feeding tiny, tiny little baby fish. For the adults, I want to feed the bigger ones, so that's usually the microworms. Rice Krispies are in there, water's in there, yeast is in there, now it's time to add the worms. And these are massive starter cultures. I got them off Aquabid. The guys, I don't remember, like Fish Guy won 1955 or something like that. I've got, last time I did cultures I got from him as well, and I just love how much he gives. He just send me a ton of stuff. This is enough for way more than 4. I could start a dozen cultures with this easy. But anyway, I guess this will get them up and going quicker. So I'm going to get down, he's triple bagged them, which is good because these things can stink. And so I'm going to clip a corner and just squeeze it on there like it's frosting on a cake. That's not disgusting at all. So these are the banana worms. I can tell this guy uses oatmeal for his cultures. No judgment. All right. Wow, this is just a ton. usually when you get a starter culture, it's tiny. These large cultures, he calls them like ready to feed, because the idea is that if you put all this in one culture, it'd be ready to feed instantly. Like if you're, oh shoot, my fish had babies, what do I feed them? Well, you buy one of these and it's ready to go. Or you do brine shrimp, I mean, that's ready in 24 hours. Okay, so that's one thing of banana worms. Here's the other one. Man, this guy sent me a lot. And it looks like he divided it up into 2 different sets. That's smart, because if one set goes down in the mail, then you've still got the second bag. So I appreciate that. It's a little bit of redundancy there, just in case something went wrong and you really needed the food right then. This guy's thinking. I like his thinking. Okay, so this corner's already, I must have clipped it a bit when I cut the other bags. So. Okay, let's frost a cake. Mmm, delicious. Banana worms, like so many banana worms. And these will be 3 days, these things will be booming. Probably have to split them. And I do that often. Ideally, every week, start a new batch, so I have a perpetual supply going. And it's the same thing, just clean container, Rice Krispie treats, some water, some yeast, and that's it. So these are my banana worm cultures, which I am going to label right now so that I don't forget what they are. So BW on the lid and BW on the container. Alright, so those are ready to go. And now I'm going to do the same thing on these other containers and the exact same procedure on the microworms, but I'll use a different set of scissors so I don't accidentally get banana worms into the microworm cultures when I open the bags. Because I don't want to mix them. I want small, little ones for teeny tiny fry and bigger ones for bigger fry and for small fish, small adult fish, and juvenile fish, and other fish that will eat them. Anyway, I'm going to pause this and finish this up, and then we'll get on to like the fruit fly cultures and stuff. Alright, so it's been 2 days since I set up these live food cultures, and this is a microworm culture here, and as you can see, it's already grown up the sides a little bit over in that corner there, so it's really going. I don't know if you can see the shimmer all over that surface, but there's definitely a lot of worms in there. But also something has happened. When I set these up, I told you that sometimes they get a little runny after you set them up, and that's happened in this culture, so I want to show you this. So see how it's just kind of really soupy, really running all over? That's too wet. I don't want it to run when I move it. So what I'm going to do is just take these, so it's a bag of Rice Krispies, and I almost said Rice Krispie treats, just Rice Krispies. I'm just going to sprinkle a little bit in those wet areas. Just kind of sprinkle it over the top a little bit, and that'll suck up that excess moisture and make this a lot less soupy, which is my goal. So that's probably all I need. And in a few days, that'll all be absorbed in, and it'll be a nice consistency. And if it gets runny again, I'll just add a few more. And that's pretty much the extent of what I do to manage these cultures. I might sprinkle a little yeast in there or something if I notice some bacteria growing or something like that. So as long as it stays a consistency which is not totally soupy but not dry, you don't want any of the crisps, any of the pieces of cereal to stay dry in there. They all need to be soggy. If they stay dry, they get moldy. So as long as that happens, we'll be just fine, and this will produce for several weeks. Anyway, just wanted to show you that.